Male and female, thank you very much. Male and female are simply humanity expressed in masculine and feminine gender. Okay? Once upon a time in the world that we're in, the man was elevated to say, no, the man is more superior, and the women fought back. We fought and fought and fought. They now led to like this girl movement, girl power and women empowerment movement. Yet that war has still not ended. Yet we still do not consider it a level playing field. Why can we not seem to accept ourselves as one where none is superior to the other, where we're here to support each other in adding value to humanity in our own individual and unique ways? Why do we have that disparity? This is superior, that is superior. What concept of humanity have we skewed? And it has led us to where we are right now. So I'm going to have us picture this. Let's all just imagine this situation. So you are a parent and you have a child, you have a daughter that you have trained, she has gone to pilot school in the world, you paid international tuition. All of us know what the exchange rate is saying right now. You paid international tuition, your daughter went to flight school, and then she has graduated, top of her class. She has now been hired to fly the President of the United States of America on a yearly salary of 500,000 USD. She's going to get US citizenship, and they're going to give you, the parents who paid that heavy international tuition, you're going to get $20,000 monthly for the allowance. But the man that this your daughter wants to marry says no, that she's going to have to decline the offer because how are you going to be a pilot? Who will now cook for me? That offer would disturb her ability to cook for him and stay at home to raise children. Ladies and gentlemen on the call, I would like us to please unmute ourselves and tell me, what would you say if you were the parent who had this daughter, who had this offer, and the person she wants to marry says, no, don't take it so that you can stay at home and cook and clean for me and raise children? What are you going to say to your daughter? I'd like a few people to either share in the chat or unmute yourself to share with us. What would you say to your daughter if she came to you with this dilemma? This is the part where we engage, guys. So please, let's respond. What would you say? I would wait. I don't see any hands raised. If you want to just unmute yourself, you're more than welcome to do that. It's to know you're laughing. Tell us what you will say. Please unmute yourself and share. Okay, Janet, I see a hand raised. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Humanly speaking, no. Hey, God, I beg. Well, if I'm going to give the first answer that pops to my heart, I'm going to say, I wish sure that man has your best interest at heart. But if I was asking my husband, because he's listening on the call, and I'm like, what would we do in this kind of situation? One thing that he said that caught my attention is that we have to be spiritually in tune and not just emotionally, just answer emotionally. So if I'm going to be spiritual in this, right, I'm going to say that I will sit with the Holy Spirit. Is this the man for her? Number one. Number two, what does this man have that is willing to offer her that is better than this one? Is there an alignment in vision? Is he saying these things out of he has low self-esteem, or can we work on something, right? I feel like we need to still discuss this as a family with my daughter involved. And of course, I'm going to prioritize what my daughter's interest is going to be. I'm going to prioritize it, right? But I'm just saying that if I'm going to answer emotionally, I'll say, forget the man. He's a very responsible boy. But if I'm going to take it a step further and not just be emotional, I'm going to actually sit with the Holy Spirit because, yeah, let me just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very valid angle to say we're going to question this some more in case we have bigger issues that we have to deal with. But yes, thank you very much for sharing that. Does anybody else want to take a stab at this before we go ahead? Any other takers? Would like one more person to share, if that's okay. Omotola, do you want to share? Like, if this were your daughter, what would you say? What counsel would you give?
You see that laughter that Janet laughed when she came on? That's the laughter on my mind. I feel like that's the laughter it was laughing in the chat as well because let's just be laughing.
Okay, that answer was loud. Like, even though you did, I'm trying to think about it. Like, if it were my daughter. Anyway, let's piggyback on Janet's answer to say would override our flesh and let the leading follow another place. But in the meantime, if this man knew that the girl was in aviation school when you came into the picture. Now we don't know. This is just me overanalyzing the situation now. We don't know how, when he came into the picture, what part of the journey the girl has been on when he came in. So it's not like you did not know that your girlfriend was in aviation school, she was going to fly, and then that's at the point of the offer, which is almost like everybody's dream job. I'm more concerned about the reason why he's saying she should not. If you are saying that the major reason why you're asking her to not do it is because it would disturb the ability to cook and clean and raise children, it strikes me more like a self-esteem issues as against him having any vision that can replace this. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. And I will be concerned. I will flag that if I were in that position, I will flag it with my child and make sure that we're looking at this appropriately. So let's talk about this. What would you say is the difference between male and a husband? What would you consider if they put before you male and a husband? Is there a difference, first of all? If there is, what do you think it is? I need more people to chime in this, please. You can raise your hand if you want to speak on this, or you can unmute yourself. What would you say is the difference between a male and a husband, or the difference between a female and a wife? Would you say there's any difference? If you were asked who's more superior, male or female, what would you say it is? What do you think it is? Okay, Jane says there's a difference. Okay. Oluwatosin, you said there's a difference. Do you mind unmuting yourself to just share with us what you think the difference is? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it would be nice to hear your perspective. Oluwatosin, are you able to unmute yourself and just share what you think the difference is? Is somebody here, Tosin, or is it just me? Oh, okay. A male is anyone with a male organ, while the husband is one who grooms his wife. That's great perspective. No one is superior. Okay. Does anybody else want to unmute just to share a little more what their perspective is on this? Okay, that's okay. We'll go ahead. Well, I agree. I'm on the same page with you that none is superior to the other. Okay, I'm looking for the cursor of my mouse, and for some reason, it just seems to have vanished. Give me a quick minute here. Let me sort this out. I'm not sure what's going on. Not letting me change my slide.
Do you want to stop sharing and then reshare?
Okay, found it now. Thank you.
Meantime, you guys fill my form. Fill my form. My form is in the chat. Fill it,
Okay.
fill it.
Thank you very much. As you do that, please fill the form, very important. When we talk about superiority, if you put in the area of leadership, who would you say is more superior, male or female? Please just put in the chat, what do you think? Would you say a man is more superior when it comes to superiority? Janet says, I think husband screams responsibility, okay? Janet, you think male is more superior in the area of leadership, okay? How about creativity? Who would you say is more superior in this area? Women, okay. Female on creativity, okay. A woman is more creative, okay. How about integrity? Female, okay. I'll be curious to know. And intelligence, would you say a female or a male is more superior in this area? Intelligence, female, okay. Okay. So the woman is more superior in intelligence, but the man is more superior in leadership. Don't you need intelligence to lead? Curiosity. How about scandals? Who would say is more notorious or more superior when it comes to scandals? Scandal, male. Okay. What of stupidity? If we can do integrity, of course, there's the opposite side. Stupidity, who would you say is more superior? My husband says female. On scandals? Okay. Male, okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for your inputs. Very, very interesting perspectives shared. I have another question. So when you think about these people, the following people, I think females are more gullible. Okay. So when you think about these people and you think about them from the perspective of the value that they have added to the world, what comes to mind? Like when you think about like a Thomas Edison, like a Nelson Mandela, what kind of value would you say they have added to the world? Mother Teresa, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Malala. This was supposed to be Malala, sorry. What kind of value would you say they have added to the world? The value that these people have added to the world, would you consider one person's value to be superior to the other? Or were they contributed in their own unique sphere and unique circumstances? They added value that met specific needs. Are we able to evaluate this value and say one is superior? You would agree with me that regardless of gender, these people have added values. Regardless of gender, they are able to add value in a way that cannot be compared with another person, right? God did not put inferior spirit in female and put a superior spirit in male. That way, every human being, the way we are made, the way we have been created is that every human being must have the ability to develop themselves to the highest level without judgment. That's what God put in all of us. We must be able to discover and deliver our vision without restrictions. We must be able to find a passion and be free to pursue it as it adds value to humanity. We must be able to enjoy the freedom to think, to create, to express our minds, make mistakes and correct the mistakes. You have the option to choose either to get married once you find the right partner or choose to be single without any form of discrimination. So it's going to be hard to say this person is more superior in this area and the other person is not, because we're all at the same time, we're all in our own sphere where we need to show leadership, we show the leadership. In the areas where we need to show creativity, we do. Hopefully, the areas where we're stupid is reduced and minimized, and God is working on us so that we have the wisdom to not make stupid ideas or get involved in scandals. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that we all have in us the inherent ability to create, to think, and be unique in our own way as individuals without that fight for superiority or inferiority, because God did not put superior or inferior in anybody. So let's talk about this, the male and the female. I asked earlier to say, who do we think is more superior with male versus female, or man and husband, and what is the difference between a male and a husband? Well, we're going to talk about it in a little more detail now. A husband, like somebody has said in the chat, is somebody who grooms the wife. Yes, it is the institutionalized role of a married man. On the other hand, a male is somebody who is male by gender. Like you were born as a man. You have unique and innate features of a man, right? You are an adult male. That's what a man is. It is by nature, it is an innate character. Nobody has control over what they come as. That's who a male is. The husband, on the other hand, is a role that a male may choose to take on or choose not to take on. The term implies a role within a marital relationship, including responsibility and social roles, like some of us have alluded to in the chat. So while a man is an innate characteristic, it's an innate feature, husband is a role that not all men will take on. When a man takes on the responsibility of marriage, then he becomes a husband. And that responsibility as a husband comes in many different spheres. Somebody has spoken to it to say it's a man who grooms a woman. So I'm going to tell you what our definition of a husband is at Family Systems Engineering. A husband is a gardener that is equipped with the power to transform a bush into a garden. So that person that says a husband is a man that grooms his wife, you were not far from the answer. A husband is a gardener that is equipped with the power to transform a bush into a garden, transform that garden into an oasis by deploying grooming and management skills to nurture every raw material into finished products in a way that heaven becomes visible on earth. So stop for a minute and think about that. What if every husband came into the full understanding of their scope, the scope of their work as a husband? Can you imagine the kind of world that we live in? And I'm happy to let you know that that kind of world is possible. A wife, on the other hand, again, female versus wife, a female is an adult female. And a woman is an adult female, while a wife is the institutionalized role of a married woman. Again, term implies that there is a marital relationship that includes responsibility and social role. The characteristic of a woman is by nature, it is innate, nobody can control that, while wife is an optional role that a woman may or may not take on. At Family Systems Engineering, a wife is a type of helper positioned around the husband to ensure that he doesn't lose his way. She's the recipient of the male seed, and she nurtures that seed into maturity. Now, when we say seed, it's not just seed to make a baby, it's seed in all ramifications. She's a tender, not commanding spirit of truth, whose counsel is indispensable and serves as both a warning bell and a travel compass in difficult situations. So the wife is a type of helper. In some cases, if for those people who are Christians here, the wife comes from the same root word that has been used to describe the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit, we all know, has been given to us as our helper. So she is a type of helper that plays the job of a warning bell as well as a travel compass. A travel compass does many things: direction, warning, redirection, as the case may apply. Imagine that all women came into the consciousness of this ability that they have, come into this consciousness of their power, instead of us to fight for who's superior and who's not superior. And that's the major reason why we fight, that struggle that stems from a lack of identity. Our identity, regardless of our status, is what allows us to dream. It's what allows us to visualize. It's what allows us to self-develop and fulfill our dreams to benefit humanity. You can be a husband and a wife and still live to the fullness of your potential. Wife does not replace your innate characteristics as a female. It does not replace your dreams. It does not replace your aspirations. Same thing with husband. You do not now give up being male because you are a husband. Yes, there are responsibility that comes with the role, but it does not replace the unique gifts and the characteristics that we all have, that has been put inside of us. The key to a peaceful home, the first key to a peaceful home, is an acceptance of that identity, that we are co-dominion spirits, and our respect and honor of our roles as partners in progress without any sense of superiority or inferiority, because in actual sense, none is actually inferior or superior to the other. We can turn every forest into a garden by working as co-laborers, no slave or master, no superior or inferior. What are some of the benefits? Why do we need to understand the benefits of humanity? It would help us understand and help us respect everyone we see, irrespective of their gender. We can appreciate the diversities in us. We can appreciate our unique gifts in us so that we don't diminish anybody's gift because we assume that they are inferior. We don't diminish anybody's ability to be able to add value to one another because of that superiority and inferiority roles that we have created. It helps us to prevent low self-esteem and depression because everybody feels wanted and needed. Because you cannot imagine how it is for two people to be in a relationship where one person comes up with, we were talking about it in the chat and we said the women were more creative. But if we say the women were more creative, the women were more intelligent, the women had more integrity, but this woman is superior to a man who has lesser intelligence, who has lesser integrity, like that's going by the responses that were in the chat. What do you think will happen when this woman comes up with a creative and an intelligent idea, presents that idea to her husband to say, we can try this, or this is something that we can do to move our family forward? Because the woman is inferior, the man shoves the idea to the side, and that happens all the time. What do you think is going to happen to that woman over time? Low self-esteem will start to set in. And of course, with all of this needs not expressed or diminished expectations, depression can set in. She starts to feel unwanted. She starts to feel invisible, start to feel not needed. And you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody like that. With an understanding of humanity, we can serve ourselves as teammates, as friends, as lovers, as against that master-slave relationship or that inferior-superior relationship. And of course, it would eliminate the unhealthy rivalry that we're plagued with right now just because of this fight and this quest for who's going to be more superior. With a basic understanding, we would eliminate that rivalry and the competition and all of these things that comes with it and all the side effects that we're seeing in our society today. We can reduce all of that and instead promote peace and serenity until we can all take our place. Without religious, without cultural sentiment, our world will be out of place. And we see it happen on a daily basis. Imagine that everybody entered the marriage with a consciousness of who they are and the responsibilities that comes with that, with their own roles, instead of fighting for superiority. Imagine that we all enter the relationship knowing that I'm coming into this relationship, I'm coming into this marriage as a co-laborer, as a co-gardener, we're partners, we're kindred spirits, and both of us are coming together for the advancement of the betterment of humanity. What if that mentality is what we all got into marriage with? Do you not think we will see healthier relationships today? Remember that time when we were children, when we played together on the streets? For those of you who grew up Raz like I did, I grew up on the dusty streets of Benin City in Edo State, Nigeria. And sometimes in the night, everybody is coming out from their houses to come and play on the street. At that time, nothing mattered. Nothing else mattered. At that point, the boys did not play like they were superior to the girls. All of us played. It was the same playing field. And the level of happiness that I experienced in those times, I don't think I've ever been able to go back to that. But imagine that we can all go back to being that child again, where we all played, and it was not a slave master, superior, inferior. What if we could all go back to that point where we were all on the same playing field? Imagine how extremely happy we were at that time. Compare that level of happiness to what you feel right now. Do we think perhaps the problem in the world is probably an adult and the solution to that problem is a child? Some of us have become too adult that we have stifled the children within us and we don't know how to be happy. We don't know how to just play without any cares, without any concerns. What if we could go back to that time? We have to hold one another and make a commitment to be children again. Yesterday, I was in front of the mirror in my bathroom and music was playing from my phone. And I just started dancing in front of the mirror, talking to myself and just laughing inside my bathroom. Somebody will look at that and say, you're not too old for that. But no, that was me being a child again. That was me tapping into my inner child again. And those things just bring joy to our hearts. What if we can go back to that point? We must make that commitment to find how to be children again in our mentality where we do not overthink things or exalt ourselves above any other person and support one another to actually make our world a better place. So now that we have settled this and talked about humanity from a way and established that in actual sense, God made us male, female, with unique abilities, with unique gifts, Not one is superior to the other. There was no inferiority put in one and superiority put in another. Now that we've established that, what are you going to be doing differently from today? Is this perhaps going to change the way you handle the opposite sex in your life? Does this give you a different perspective on what you thought you would have known before? What are you committing to from here? I hope that with this, you can go back to the time where it was a level playing field, where we looked at each other and we saw human. When you look at that woman tomorrow, it is human you see. When you look at that man, you see human, not another individual who's inferior to you because of biological makeup. No, that's not what God intended. Because if you really look at it, that he made one superior to the other, it will be unfair. It will be unfair. Like to start from the beginning and the playing field is not level. That's not what God intended for us. He made us the same. Now, when it comes to the marital relationship, roles and responsibility may differ, but in the course of talking about humanity, we're talking about mankind. So your general disposition to the next person should be human, not somebody who's inferior, not somebody who you are superior to as a man or somebody you are inferior to as a female. I hope that this change provides additional perspective and provides additional context for you in how you would handle the opposite sex in your life going forward. And it will spur you to start to do things differently from today if you learn something different from this. If there are any questions, now would be a good time to please put them in the chat or raise your hands so that we can talk about it before I hand over to the next speaker for the next session. So I'm just going to give a minute for if there are questions. I'll be checking the chat just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Anything that you would like more clarification on as before we move on to the next session? Okay, I don't see any questions come through. Is there anybody who's willing to share? Has there been a different perspective provided to you today? Is there something you're committing to do differently from here going forward with the new understanding that you have? It's a quiet group. Should we pick? Should I volunteer somebody since nobody wants to volunteer to ask or share? Who's willing to share? It'd be great to hear back.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was really enlightening. I could also relate to the story of just playing outside as kids, no pressure, nobody's trying to be superior, nobody's trying to be sure they are dressed properly or spit is not coming out of their mouth while they are talking. That for me just brought back memories. And yeah, it's always refreshing to know what it really means to be human, right? And not feel like because of class there should be hierarchy, because of
Absolutely.
you're male, you're female, you went to this school, you went to that school. For me it was just really refreshing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And really, some things are not supposed to be that serious. That some things are not supposed to be that deep, like where we come to the point where we forget to be human. Anything that puts you in a position where your default response is not to resort to the fact that you are human first, something is just fundamentally wrong with that. So thank you so much for sharing that. Ituno, your hand is up. Go ahead, please.
All right. So I think for me, it's where you said that being a wife or being a husband does not stop you from achieving or becoming whoever it doesn't stop your goals basically or your dreams.
Absolutely.
Because for about a few years, I think 2 years, it's been something that's been, and I was just nodding my head when you were saying it, because it's been something that's been on my mind, that I see some people around me and I'm like, oh, nothing is really stopping this lady. Like, it's almost like as if she didn't even get married, because she's still doing great things with her life. So it's like that just had to happen. It's like the marriage just had to happen, and then my life continues. So
Absolutely.
that's I like how that just reiterated and it resonated with me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And somehow it feels like there are cultural interferences in that. And Coach Fidelia is going to talk a bit about culture and some of those beliefs that we've held on to. Sometimes it's almost like you have to be one or the other. You have to be woman or wife. If you're a woman, it means you don't have husband. If you're a wife, you give up everything else to face being a wife. But actually, we are actually both, because as a woman, that's your innate characteristic. The gifts, the qualities, and all of those uniqueness that you bring makes you a woman. And then if you choose to take on the additional role of being a wife, your uniqueness as a woman is supposed to enhance your responsibilities as a wife, and not one stifling the other. So it's actually possible, and I'm happy that you have a real life example to refer to with that, to say the marriage happened, but the person's life didn't stop, which is how it's supposed to be. That's how it's intended to be. So absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate hearing that perspective. We're going to give one more minute just in case somebody else is interested in sharing something else before we move to the next session. Please ensure that you have filled the form in the chat. Again, it is absolutely important that you feel that we would need to get that information just so we can, it will guide what we're doing here. So please help us and do it if you have not already done that. Is there anybody else who has something else? I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. So is there anybody else who wants to share anything else before we proceed? Going once, going twice? Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening through. I'm happy that we're learning from each other. I will turn it over to Fidelia now to take us through the second part of the presentation for today. Thank you very much. Fidelia, over to you. You're still muted, Fidelia.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Fidelia.
Okay. I have to. Can you hear the echo?
Yes, we can hear the echo.
Okay, just a sec. How's it now?
It's still there.
All right, so I'm trying to still battling my sound on my laptop. I don't know. Let me see. Can you hear
Better now. It's better now.
Okay, good. Great. All right. So I mean, this devices, technological things, sometimes just to just crawl under your skin. All right, thank you so much, Marina. That was amazing, and I want to say thank you to everyone that I can see here tonight. Thank you for joining in, and I want to assure you that this is going to be an amazing, amazing time. You will not regret it. All right, so very quickly, um, my mic did not allow me introduce myself initially. So I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. Well, first of all, let me introduce my topic because my topic is more important tonight. So I'm going to be talking on culture and redefinitions. I love this topic so much because, in fact, way before this meeting was planned, I think I did a few videos, my Instagram, talking about stuff like this. I am so passionate about it because I really don't understand why we have stuck to certain definitions, or why we have kept certain cultures just the way they are over the years. So tonight we're going to be talking about culture and redefinitions, and this promises to be very interesting. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Can
Fidelia,
anyone see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so this is Fidelia. Fidelia is a family life enthusiast and associate practitioner, certified counselor and coach, and chief operating officer at Restored Mind Company. She's a Young Africa Leadership Initiative Yali Fellow, an initiative of the United States Department of State. She's also a public relations officer with the Delta State government, a writer and certified public speaker, passionate about the wholesomeness of people and families. She is happily married and a blessed mom. So that is the summary of the speaker tonight. And our objective is to assist you create a culture that promotes your overall well being. So we will be able to understand this objective better as we go through the course, because I know a lot of people might be wondering, what does culture have to do with our overall well being? Well, I'm sure you know it has a lot to do, just judging by the definition of culture. Okay, so before I go to the slide that defines culture, I just want to know who wants to help us with the definition of culture? Anyone? Is there anyone that wants to help us with the definition of culture? How do you define culture? Or just what do you understand? I want you to know that there are no wrong answers in this meeting. No wrong answers. So don't think that, oh, somebody is going to, you know, say you give the wrong answer. Okay, culture is a way of life. Yeah, thank you. I can see that. Culture is a way of life. Yes. Any other opinion on what culture is? Culture is a way of life. Okay. Accepted way of behavior. Accepted, okay, and accepted social behavior. Great. I mean, these people entered class, so they have actually spied into my notes. All right, so thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please feel free to keep the chat box busy with your ideas and your questions and whatever it is that you would like to share as regards this meeting. All right, so yeah, not far from what has already been said, culture is the way of life of a people at every point and time. I know some people would like to say that as at every point in time. So, but here I have put it that culture is the way of life of a people at every point and time. Now, I want us to lay emphasis on time. Time, because culture is meant to be time bound. Now, that's one of the issues that I have with culture. But before we come to that issue, let's just go on. Um, Emphasis on time, because it means that the culture of the past may be good for the past based on their reality, but may not be empowering for the future. In other words, a culture that was upheld in the 80s might no longer be valuable, might no longer be useful in the 90s or 2000s. So, the greatest problem of culture is seeking to hold on to it even when experience and current reality consistently shows that it has outlived its usefulness. The My favorite word in that phrase is usefulness. So why do we hold on to a culture if it is not useful? I mean, the point is that something should be useful, right? So what is the point holding on to a culture that is no longer useful? So for instance, there was a time in history that women couldn't vote or own organizations, but that has simply changed. Why? Because time has passed, because a lot has happened and evolution has taken place. So if we don't troubleshoot our cultural definitions against our best interest, it would hold us back. So it's important that we understand what culture we are upholding and why. Because when we know why, it will help us understand if it is still serving purpose or not. Now, I know somebody will be saying, will be wondering what this has to do with marriage, what this has to do with, um, um, relationships and all that. You'll find out shortly. Okay, just a sec. All right. So before we come to litmus test for culture, I want us to discuss a few things about culture, or a few cultural beliefs that we have heard about, or that we have lived with, or that we have, observed in our society. Cultures that you feel, this is no longer relevant. I would like us to just talk about that in a few minutes before we go to the next slide. So at least you know the definition of culture now. You understand where we are going with this, right? So I would like to see reactions. Is there any culture that you feel is no longer relevant? Anybody? Yes. I'm looking at your messages and I'm waiting for you to unmute if you have something to say. Thank you, Oluwato, saying culture is the way of life which certain people have accepted to be binding on them over time. Yeah. So that's that over time now is what we are trying to tackle. Over time. How long is that time? How long should that time be? So is anybody talking to me? What are the cultural belief systems that you've seen around that you just feel, oh, more this one? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Adana. He said that a woman has to be home to be a homemaker. Absolutely, absolutely. Paying so much to get married. Well, you have to pay millions for you to get a wife. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm waiting. Does anyone want to add something to that? Okay, so your comments are still welcome, but let's move on because we have to keep to time. Now, what are some of the cultural beliefs or stroke stereotypes that we grew up with? So in addition, yeah, if not, sorry, I didn't say that chat properly. I really want to be sure that we are all engaged. Okay, if not, it's mothers. Okay, I don't think I
I
understand
can read
that.
the previous comment for you, Fidelia. It says a woman's education ends in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. Ends in
Yes,
the
so that's
kitchen.
what that
Okay,
was.
if
Yes.
it's mothers. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much for that. All right. So I just want to show us some additional cultural beliefs, just in addition to what we have said. I mean, we are on point with those contributions. Now, we see here that some examples include that women are homemakers. Yeah, I mean, that is their place. They don't have anything extra apart from being homemakers. They don't make any extra contribution to society in general. And then the way to a man's heart is through his belly. So I mean, every woman must learn how to cook, because if you don't know how to cook, another woman will snatch your husband with food. Okay, so and then we have women must submit, and any woman that doesn't submit may not enjoy a blissful marriage. If a man cannot provide for his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Now, I would like you to um, raise your hand if you want to say something. Somebody's laughing. If you object to any of these things that I'm reading out, I would like you to indicate. Yeah. So his money is our money, but my money is my money. It is okay for a man to commit adultery and be forgiven, but a woman who does the same doesn't deserve mercy. Uh, you must allow third, you must allow a third party in your marriage, because marriage is sorry. You must never allow a third party in your marriage, because marriage is between you, your wife, and God. It is our brother or son's house, and we can do whatever we like as extended family. After all, it's after all a woman is a property. Yeah, so there are people who still have this mindset that a woman is a property. They just feel like, okay, so we married you and we just put you in the house to be a homemaker, to keep the home. Whatever we want to do, we can do, because it's our brother's house. And then that's where you find that people just barging on you, just open the door and say they are visiting you without any prior information. Well, let's not go into that. So just to throw more light on some of these beliefs. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can, Fidelia.
Okay, thank you so much for following. Okay, so just to throw more light on some of these things that we have just talked about, I would want to use one example here to for us to be able to analyze what it means for a culture to be relevant or irrelevant. So, just a minute, please. I'm sorry about that. I had to ask my daughter to turn down the noise. Okay, so the example I would like us to use to analyze cultures that are still valuable or that are still relevant is this particular one. I love this so much. If a man cannot provide for his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Can someone tell me what is wrong with that particular culture? Anybody? Can somebody tell me what is wrong with that
Yes,
culture?
yes,
Yes,
I
please.
can. Okay, so when I think this was coined from the scripture, you know, and if we really read that scripture, it wasn't talking about husband to wife, it was talking about widows and people providing for widows in their home. So it's not even for men only. It is if you're a family and you have a widow in that family and you cannot provide for that widow, don't put the burden on the church, don't put the burden on other people. You should be the one providing for your house, for that widow in your house. So it's not for me. It's not towards men providing for their homes. You know, so that
Thank you so
culture is
much.
done.
Thank you so much. That is so on point. That's on point. In fact, that's the first point I wanted to share. Is there anybody else that wants to tell us what they think before I go ahead?
So I wanted to say that one particular thing that I think is wrong with that, it takes the team out, it takes the partnership away from the husband out, from the marriage, basically. Because it means that you are taking all the responsibility of anything that has to do with money in the house has to be on the husband. And if he's not coming from the husband, then he has lost his place as the husband. And then, I mean,
Mm,
it takes away the teamwork in the marriage, basically. That's phrase or that idea. Just no, it's from the devil.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is so on point. So, I mean, it's I'm so glad that we already some of us already have this perspective. So I'll just throw a little more light on it. Yeah. Now, when you are trying to analyze the usefulness of a culture, there are certain questions you want to ask yourself. First of all, you want to ask yourself, why was this culture created? Yeah. Then, what was the state of mind of the creators of this culture when they were creating this culture? What was their state of mind? You want to ask, what was the level of exposure that these creators of the particular culture, what was the level of their exposure at the time when they created this culture? Yeah. And then what exactly was their motive for creating the culture? So I like what you said about, the whole context being misconstrued from the beginning. Yeah, so because we need to know what is the motive, what was the motive behind this culture being created. Yeah. Now, does this culture promote the best interest of everyone and, the full manifestation of their potential? So these are some of the questions that we want to ask ourselves when we are talking about, when we're trying to analyze the usefulness of a culture. So for this particular one now, a man that cannot provide for his family is worse than an infidel, and so on. So a little more light that I would like to throw into this is the fact that um our society has become really, really economical in nature. Like, people have to hustle, if you know what I mean. People really have to hustle. So the financial demands have increased so much. So let's even assume that by any chance this statement was referring to men, or that it was Apostle Paul, or I think it was Timothy or so, that made that statement, and he was actually talking about a husband and a wife or a home setting. We can relate with the fact that in this time and age, in this day and age, if only just an individual is working in the family, let's say only the man is working, you are getting, yeah, in fact, you are preparing that man for a short lifespan, because the financial demands have so increased that it's almost impossible for one person to handle the whole of the burden. Of course, there are exceptions, but then that's one thing that makes us look at this particular culture in a very funny light. Yeah. And then again, women have grown, from a place of obscurity to relevance, having almost equal opportunities and rights as men, at least in some part of the world. And in this present world, you see that women are beginning to be more deliberate about their development, about their wanting to make impact in life. At least, if you don't see that anywhere, you can see that from this webinar tonight, that there are women who are speaking, not because there are no men that are interested, but I'm just saying that a lot of women are beginning to want to be a part of life, and have a full life. And then, of course, there's so many other things that we could look at as reasons why this particular thing should just be erased completely, and people should not even refer to it in this light. So culture has to be tested. We have to test the culture to know if it is okay, if it is still relevant, if it is still good for us, if we still need to keep it. So what I say to people many times about culture is, of course, we know this statement that when the use of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. There are many things that we practice that we don't even know the origin. So I'll give you this very funny story. So growing up, my dad used to say to us that when you drink wine, so when we have occasions or maybe just like a family evening together, and we have a bottle of wine that we want to share, my dad would say, make sure that you don't drink the last drop of wine in the bottle. Make sure that you give it to the eldest person in the room. And I'm like, why? So what if the eldest person is not interested in drinking the wine? What happens? And honestly speaking, till today, my dad has not been able to answer that question. And so that's something I just threw out the window without thinking twice, because I realized that it's just one of those cultural traditions that they kept transferring from one person to the other, and there's so many like that. There's several of them, so that's why sometimes I really don't blame Gen Zs, because a lot of people clamp down on Gen Zs and say, oh, these guys, they are so rebellious. That's because they are thinking, they have sense. They were not shut up like, we who are millennials. They want to know, they're asking questions, so if what you are giving to them doesn't make sense, they just trash it because it doesn't make sense to them. So I think that the purpose of this is to spur us into thinking, you know deep thinking about some of the things that we currently are practicing in our homes, in our families, to see if they are really helpful to us, to see if they are really useful to us. The kind of family that you are creating, is this culture relevant to you? Now again, I would say that we can come here and we can tell you that, okay, these things, these cultural beliefs are no longer they no longer hold water for us in this present day. But again, you need to decide what works for you and your family. Now let's look at the litmus test. The litmus test for a good culture. Now we're saying that it must never restrict the potential of any human being. It must promote the best interest of all and create the right environment where the potential of everyone finds expression. So think through some of the cultural beliefs that you have or that you have upheld over the years. I know that up till date, there are still some people who believe that women are homemakers. So their place is in the kitchen. They should remain there. I mean, what are they doing outside? Why we don't need to hear their voice? They need to be seen and not to be heard. So you need to ask yourself, first of all, um is this culture that I uphold restricting anybody? So I also know that there are families where once the father comes, everybody runs into the room and just hide your face. Don't allow your father see your face. Or, oh, if your father is sitting in the parlor with the remote control, you dare not sit in the parlor with him to watch whatever it is that he's watching. Now, you need to ask yourself, how does this empower the rest of the members of that household? So, question for you: does the culture you hold on to in your marriage and personal life restrict the potential of your wife, your husband, or your kids? Or does it promote their best interests? Is the atmosphere conducive for their potential to find expression? So those are some of the questions you want to ask yourself. You don't just want to say, okay, this is how they've been doing it since forever, so I have no choice. I have to keep doing it. I just have to keep doing it. I mean, I can't change what has been from the beginning. You can change what has been from the beginning because you have a brain, and that's why God gave you one, so that you can think through, the decisions that you make. Now, there's this puzzle. I am surprised that it's not in my slides here, but it's in my slides on my phone. I don't know what happened, but I'll just read it to us. Now, if there is a gold mine, assuming you are a husband here, and there's a gold mine in your wife that can only be realized if she didn't have to cook and take care of children, will you take the responsibility for those chores? Now imagine a gold mine. I don't know how many of you have seen a gold mine like in movies. If you have seen Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin, or you have read about it, you can imagine what a gold mine looks like. So let's imagine that you had that in your wife, and the only thing that can help you mine that gold very well is that she is not having to take care of kids, she's not having to cook, she's not having to attend to any other chores. Would you take charge of the chores in that household? Now, I mean, I don't want this to look like a feminist movement. So it is vice versa, actually, because I like what I don't know who made that statement, but talked about, um, you know, marriage being about teamwork. When she's just making reference to the question I asked. Marriage is supposed to be a teamwork, actually. So you need to put that into consideration. So it could be the man, it could be the woman. And for anybody who has been married, you will realize that there are some times when it looks like you are doing like 90% of the work. You are carrying like 80 or 90% of the burden. Sometimes it is the other way around, because you know life is going on, things are happening, so sometimes there has to be a shift. So what if it is the man that doesn't need to go to work, that probably needs to be a full-time house husband for his full potentials to come out, for you to be able to mine that gold that is in him? Would you agree to shoulder the responsibilities that need to be shouldered? So this is a very conk question. I don't know if somebody wants to respond to it. Do I have anyone who wants to respond to this? Because if I were seated in this class as an attendant, I think I would want to respond to this. Okay, anyways, this question um, can be a rhetoric question, but it's something that we need to think about very seriously. It's something that we need to think deeply about. I would have reacted or responded to Marina's question when she was asking about the pilot who was going to marry a man that says, I just want you to cook for me. I just want you to stay at home. Then again, it depends on their values. But I don't think if your values were on point, enough for you to go to school internationally to become a pilot, you would want to put it in the kitchen. And so that's why a lot of women wind up frustrated, They're just frustrated in their homes. Even men, some men, they wind up frustrated because there is so much limitation on them based on cultural definitions. So I want us to move very fast. We're almost done. I really don't want to keep us here longer than we should. Okay, so very quickly, I want us to look at disempowering versus empowering cultural beliefs. I want to believe that we understand the definition of empowering. When we say something is empowering or something is disempowering, simply when we say empowering, it means that it makes you feel alive. It makes you productive. It just brings out the best in you. Basically, that's what it means for something to be empowering. And then again, there are disempowering cultural beliefs. Of something that Marina talked about now, talking about gender, talking about roles. So here, the first thing we have here, can you see it or is it too tiny? Can you see it?
It's better now.
Yeah.
It's bigger now.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we have here is that males, it's for the males. We say this empowering cultural belief is that the male is the superior gender, created to rule everyone else irrespective of his intelligence and ability. So it doesn't matter if this man, has no competence in, certain areas, but he just has to rule in every area. That is a disempowering belief. I know that a lot of people hold that, the man is the head. In fact, some people go as far as saying the man is the head of the woman, which is so, they just believe that every man everywhere can be the head of every woman everywhere, or is superior to every woman everywhere. So from what we have learned so far this evening, we can agree that this is a disempowering belief system. Now, what is the empowering version of it? It says a visible image. Now, this is a male. Remember, we're talking about a male, that a male is a visible image and character of the invisible God expressed in the masculine body for the purpose of earth's management, rulership, and dominion. Now, this is giving, it's giving kingship vibes to me. It's giving servanthood, servant leadership to me. It's just giving that kind of man that you want to gladly submit to. Yeah. So when we think about the male folk, we are not even talking about husband here. Remember, we're just talking about the male. When we think about male folk, we are looking at a person who is the visible expression of the invisible God in a masculine body. So it is his body, his container, that makes us say, okay, this person is male. Please, I'm saying this in the light of what the traditional mindset and belief, because right now I know that we have all kinds of pronouns, and I don't know. Let's not bring that into this. But I'm just saying, based on our traditional understanding of what male and female is, this is what a male should be. And then female, we say, from the disempowering point of view, we say that a female is the weaker vessel. I've heard so many people say this. The female is the weaker vessel whose potential is expressed in the kitchen, in the bedroom, aka the other room, and through motherhood. And so you find that even women themselves cannot, see beyond being mothers, being wives. It's hard for a lot of women to see themselves beyond that point. They just feel that as long as I am a mom, as long as I am married, I have a husband, and I'm able to cook, that is all there is to me. So we can see now from tonight's classes that this is a disempowering way to think. This is a disempowering cultural belief. Now, what is the empowering version? The empowering version says that a female is a visible image and character of the invisible God expressed in the feminine body for the purpose of earth's management and rulership and dominion. Now, one thing I like about this, the male and female, is that they both have the same mandates. The only difference is their expression. So they are expressed, the male is expressed, in a masculine body. The female is expressed in a feminine body, but they are both expressions of the invisible God, and they are both given the same mandates. So, for those of us who are Christians here, I want us to take our minds back to Genesis when he says, he was given that commandment and says, "Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." You don't think he was giving that to only the man or only the woman? It was definitely to both of them, because if we're talking about multiplication in the terms of giving birth, for instance, you know that one person cannot do it alone. It has to be both people. So there is the function of the feminine representation of God, and there is the function of the masculine representation of God. But at the end of the day, they have the same mandate. Now let's go to husband. Disempowering cultural belief about husband is that he's the breadwinner. He's the ATM machine whose role is to provide for the family and command obedience without any contrary opinion. He is the king that must be worshipped lest he gets angry. Please, can you still hear me? I want you to confirm that you can still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. So this husband definition, from the disempowering point of view, is so hilarious. But sadly enough, that is what a lot of people uphold in this generation. And so you see a young girl, in fact, I don't want to go there, man. If you go on social media, you hear a lot of things and you wonder, do these people grow up in a home? So you hear something like, so he must be able to give me like ₦1 million every month. He must be able to buy my hair of 800K, and all that. So it's just a society where ladies just feel that the man is the sole provider. He's the ATM machine. His money is our money. My money is my money. And again, I think it's also vice versa, because these days there are a lot of men who just want to find a woman who is hardworking, who is financially stable, so that they can live off of her. But then we must realize that there is the empowering way to look at husband, and that is that a husband is a gardener equipped with the power to transform a bush into a garden, or a garden into a paradise, by deploying his grooming stroke management ability to nurture every raw material into finished products and create an ideal environment where everyone's potential finds expression. So a husband who is actually after, you know, fulfilling these aspects of, cultural beliefs, this empowering aspect of cultural belief, I don't think he's going to be a loafer. I don't think he's somebody who will not be able to provide. But at the same time, it is not okay to see him as the ATM machine. So I remember asking my husband once. I was like, what do you think about the man being the breadwinner of the home? And I was like, well, I don't have a problem with the man being the breadwinner, but if I win bread, you should be able to win beans or egg or something, at least, so that we can the bread can go well. So at the end of the day, it still boils down to teamwork. It still boils down to, being able to contribute together to making the home. Okay, so then we move to wife. I'm sorry, I can't see your comments now, just in case your comments are coming in, but I will go to the comment section after this. Yeah, so for the wife, this empowering mindset or cultural belief for the wife is that the wife is a homemaker, the bed warmer, not breadwinner this time, the bed warmer, the baby factory, the cook, and all purpose specie, whose submission must be activated even when she has a superior idea that can assist the family. So I've seen this happen so many times, where a woman who is probably well educated, well schooled, marries someone who has less education than she does, less exposure than she does, and you know becomes a timid woman, grows into a timid woman because the husband just feels that he knows it all. And so he doesn't mind if their finances are if their finances knows diving and the woman knows better. He doesn't want to hear it, because in his mind, a woman is a baby factory. A wife, sorry, the wife that I married, she's my wife. I want her to be my wife. And when they say I want her to be my wife, they're saying I want her to be the homemaker. I want her to be the bed warmer. She should always be available whenever I'm in the mood. She should be able to give birth to my children. She should be able to cook and any other thing, any other duties that I decide to assign to her. Now, the empowering version of wife says that she is a tender, not commanding, but a tender spirit of truth, whose counsel is indispensable and serves as both a warning bell and a travel compass in difficult situations. A kind of help that only God could have provided. And this is so profound because so many researchers that, so I've done a couple of research, and studies have shown that when when the Bible talks about the woman, it is the same word for the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit. And so the woman is likened to the Spirit of God in a lot of journals, a lot of work, a lot of research that has been done, especially in the Bible. So imagine that the wife that you have has this potential or has this ability. It will only be best for you to treat her as such. And then as a woman, again, as a wife, it is important to see yourself more in this light for you to be able to maximize your personhood. And then finally, we have marriage. A disempowering way to look at marriage is to say that marriage is the process of a man and a woman coming together to start a family, where the man takes the lead and the woman follows, full stop. And that is exactly how a lot of people see marriage. That's all there is to marriage when it comes to a few people. Now, an empowering way to look at marriage is that it is the coming together of a man and a woman from two different nations to create a new nation that will promote the best interest of all, and that will promote the best interest of all, and whose culture will give our world rest. In fact, I love this. I could dwell on this for the next 30 minutes, but I will just quickly say a few things about this. First of all, marriage is the coming together of a man and a woman, agreed, from two different nations. Now, when we say different nations, we are not exactly saying one from Jamaica, one from Nigeria. We are saying that your family is a nation. Your spouse's family is a nation. And so when you come from there and your spouse comes from there, you come together, you are both coming from two different nations to create a nation of your own. So when you come together to create that nation, you want to create a nation that will promote the best interests of all, especially the citizens of that nation, yeah, and everybody else associated with that nation. And your culture should be able to give our world rest. So if your culture is troubling us and giving us heartache and making us um do hours of counseling, and it means that there's something wrong with our culture and it needs to be reviewed. It needs to be done away with. Okay, so those are a few tips for empowering and disempowering. Okay, did somebody say balanced diet, bread warmer? Interesting. Okay, so we are moving on. Before we move on, does anybody have something to say about what I've just talked about? Because we're almost wrapping up. So yes, at this point, I can ask you if you want to make a comment on what we have just read, or is there something that doesn't really sit right with you in feel free to ask questions, and please don't mind me. Sometimes I can be very sarcastic, so I apologize for um, some of the things that I might have said that sounded sarcastic. But the truth is, what we are here to do is not to pamper anybody's ego, but to let us see what is proper, to let us see how we can become better people. So we are all a work in progress. We are still in the process. So I can come here today and teach you this, but I'm still a work in progress at the end of the day. But the point is, we should all, keep progressing, because, like Marina said at the beginning, we can, I can't remember how she put it, but I mean, we can begin to impact family after family to make the world a better place. And that is what we are doing here tonight. So please, if shots were fired in your direction, I am so sorry, but you have to take it in good faith. Yeah? Okay. Now, based on everything that we have talked about tonight, I want you to make a commitment to yourself, to your family, to your world. What cultural beliefs will you change from this moment? So I want to believe that while I was talking, there are certain things that might have come to your mind, as to the kind of culture that you currently uphold as an individual and in your family that you will want to um, be addressed or review. So I want you to think about that tonight, and I want you to start thinking about it now, because I would like to hear from a few people before we wrap up this session. Um, what belief will you now embrace and promote now that you have been able to see the difference between a culture that is empowering and one that is disempowering? What belief would you promote and embrace? Finally, can you visualize the results that can happen if you embrace a new culture that promotes the best of everyone in your family? So I really love this question, because we are going to begin, or we're going to continue from here tomorrow. We're going to continue from here tomorrow, where we begin to talk about visions, having a family vision and all of that. So can you visualize the results that can happen if you embrace a new culture that promotes the best of everyone in your family? So if you're able to have that picture, you find out that it's easy for you to begin to navigate your life, and put your cultural beliefs into perspective. Now, someone said, Ajana, I can see your hand, just a minute. So someone said, we don't see things the way they are, we see them the way we are. Now, the way we interpret things in life will go a long way to determine our outcome. So, how do you interpret things in your life? How do you interpret the culture, the belief systems that you have? How do you look at the world? How does it affect you? How does the way you see the world affect you? Because it certainly does affect you. So the earlier we begin to rearrange our mindsets about these concepts, and much more, the better quality of life we stand to achieve. All right. So, Ajana, please, you were raising up your hand. You can speak now. Thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is Ajana still with us?
Oh, Itunu is fine. Please, good afternoon. Good evening, sorry.
Yeah,
Itunu
good
is
evening.
fine. Okay.
Okay, to know.
Yes. All
All
right.
right.
So I just have a question, reservation, just something around the homemaker, the the what's it called? Earlier you were talking about shots fired and all of these things, and I think that's my shot. But I just have because I mean, does it not tone down? I mean, I don't have a problem with um a woman being a homemaker and all of that. What I
Yeah.
think, what I think I have a problem with is a woman staying at home to be a homemaker. So I believe that you don't have to be at home to be a homemaker. It's a
Mm,
whole lot of thing in my head that I make that I have like, but I don't want us to get into that. But what I'm saying is that does it not the question for me is does it not um how do I say this now? How do I does it not tone down the I mean does it not maybe like put a dent kind of on the femininity, I hope I pronounced that right, of the woman, such that it's, am I making any sense at all? Because
Yes, you are.
saying that a woman is not a homemaker or blah, I mean, I understand, but I don't understand. And so I understand the whole idea of, oh, your degrees in the kitchen, blah blah blah, all of those things.
Mm.
But then I don't understand. For me, I mean, beyond the dictionary meaning of homemaker, staying at home, and all of that, my own understanding of being a homemaker, or a woman as a homemaker, is, when the Bible talks about, sorry for those that are not Christians, but when the Bible talks about Proverbs 31, I think, is it 14 thereabout, how that, when it rains or something like that, she's not afraid or something because her household is in order or something like that. So it speaks to the woman being, the, how do you say now? I don't want to say guardian, but she's in charge of her home, basically. I just want to ask why that is a problem, or does it not put a dent on the natural traits that the God-given traits of a woman to actually nurture things, right? So actually, like, I think it's natural for women to just want to see things being nurtured and being taken care of, and one of those things, I mean, for a woman is the home and all of these things. That just a little bit clarity on that, just to change, perspective, or if there's something wrong with my perspective or something like that. Sorry for the long.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Fidelia,
Thank
is
you,
it okay
Tino.
to
Yeah.
speak to that?
Pardon?
Is it okay to speak to that?
Oh, sure, sure.
So I would like to say two things. The first thing, and I think that was the first thing that came to my mind when Fidelia was speaking about the homemaker thing. How many of us remember President Buhari's comment about the other room?
Yeah.
My wife belongs to the kitchen and the other room. And that came from the president of a country
Mm.
at a place that was supposed to be an international gathering. So when we're referring to it like this, we're not talking about the fact that if you choose homemaking, it's bad. So even if you decide, so for you, it's, you determined or you've ascertained with yourself and you've made peace with yourself and you said, you know what, homemaking and staying at home and making the home for me is a no-no. I'm happy with homemaking, but I don't want to stay at home to make the home. And there will be another woman somewhere who will say, me, I want to make the home and I want to stay at home. It doesn't make it wrong. Remember, we've said a culture is a way of life of a particular person or people at a particular time. So if I, as a person, have decided that this is the culture that serves me and my family at this time, and you have passed it through the litmus test that Fidelia shared, it promotes the well-being of me and my family members. All of us were all right. So for President Buhari, his wife being in the other room and being in the kitchen was not a problem for him. For her, it probably also wasn't a problem. But there is Fidelia's husband who is saying, if I'm bringing bread, you've got to bring beans or egg. We need balanced diet. Do you understand? So with everything that we're saying today, it's basically look at it through your own life's lens. And there's something that I always say, you know your life better than we do or will ever do. And so you're able to tailor the things that you're learning towards the life that you want for yourself. But I'll ask you a question. And I think that it's a question that we need to sleep over. If you had a problem with the conversation about a woman being a homemaker, did you have a problem with the conversation about a man being provider? So if you are a man without money, or if you are a husband without money, does it make you less of a husband? If you are a wife who is not making the home, as in tidying, sweeping, cooking, or kitchen and the other room in the way that we have contextualized it, does it make you less of a wife? And you also think about it in terms of the fact that there are people who say, oh, for me, it's fine. Oh, me, I want fresh food. I will hire a chef that will cook the fresh food. As far as everybody is happy, we're happy. But there are people who will say, me, I want fresh food, but I don't want anybody else to cook the food. So you, my precious wife, even though you are going to work and we're coming back at the same time, and you look like you're about to die, you're
I don't
gonna cook.
care.
Or you, my wife, you have wheat on your hand though, and washing machine is not working, and the children's uniform is dirty. They will go to school naked though if you don't wash
Mm,
it. That's
mm.
what we're referring to. So it's really beyond the roles, beyond the responsibilities. Do you see humanity? Do you see someone? And that's what connects Fidelia's session with Marina's session. It's that before you see all those responsibilities, before you see all those roles, there is something that you must see. A person, a man made in God's image. So beyond monetary input, beyond nurture, beyond the gifts that they can give, beyond the additions, what about that person as a human being makes them special to you? What in that person as a human being makes them stand out enough for you to say, this person is my wife and I want to marry? So in Africa, you hear the concept of people saying to their sons or their daughters, you are poor, you have been suffering for too long, go and marry, go and find husband. Or they tell the man, see you this boy, see your neck, it don't long, go marry. Haven't you heard things like that? But what they're telling that guy whose neck is long from, not feeding is, go and get a cook, go and hire a chef, or go and order pot of soup and bowl of soup from Instagram. If you're not ready to fulfill the other responsibilities beyond the things that culture has defined, beyond the life that you have seen over and over again that has now formed your biases, are you able to tailor make something that works for your own immediate family? So for example, you are a man and you work from home and your wife goes to work all day, but she still has to worry about child pickup arrangements because you saw your mother do child pickup, you saw your mother do school runs, your father never did school runs. Or
Mm.
you're a woman, you have money, oh, your husband does not have money, oh, rent is due, landlord is banging your door, boom, 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 boom. But you will not cough out that money. The landlord
Mm.
will embarrass all of you together. Nothing will happen. As far as the man does not bring the money, all of you will suffer together. Your children will go to inferior schools, even though you can afford it, because the man is the provider. Do you see
Yeah.
what the problem is? So the problem really isn't so much as can my husband give me money? Can my wife cook for me? The problem really is beyond the responsibilities. Do you
Yeah.
see a human being? So yeah, Fidelia, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I don't think there's any other thing I have to say because you have literally addressed that question. So, if you took notes while I was talking, I said, I made mention of team, of a family being a team, husband and wife being a team. So, that's something that I think if you didn't hear anything tonight, you need to hear that. Because if you are not ready for teamwork, then there's no point going into marriage. So it has to be teamwork. So when you have that at the back of your mind, you realize that um, if Ronaldo scores a goal, they are not going to say, "Oh, Ronaldo has won the match." They will say that his team has won the match. I'm sorry, I'm not a football fan, but of course Ronaldo is very popular, so I know his name. So they will say his team has won the match. They won't say Ronaldo won the match. Okay, now 90% of the people that are in the world that knew about that, or let's just say at least a greater percentage of people that watched the match or that heard about it, will not come up to say, "Oh, Ronaldo won the match." They might just say, "Oh, Ronaldo, gave us the winning goal." But I mean, that would really come up, in the face of saying, "Oh, this team won the match. So that's something that we need to keep at the back of our minds. And the second thing that I want us to pay attention to that I also mentioned is the fact that your solutions can actually be custom made. They can be customized to you and your household, but you must follow the litmus test. This thing that you have decided to do, that both of you have decided to do, is it something that works for your family? Is it something that, brings out the best in both of you? So you are just many times I think the reason why some of these things become an issue is because we are acting from the place of selfishness. We are not working as a team. So that's why it becomes an issue. So if I come back from work and I am tired, and I know that, see, right now I feel like I would just drop if I do any other thing, and I say, please, you both of us are at home. I say, please, can you help, with the dinner? In fact, first of all, for me to ask you, it means you are not paying attention. And then when I now ask you nicely and say, please, this is how I feel right now. Let's give you a benefit of doubt. I say, please, I need you to help me out here. And you now say, what's happening? I don't understand. A lot of heat. It just means that you do not plenty. So it's these are things that we need to put into consideration when we consider getting married, or when we realize that we are in the institution called marriage. We need to put these things in perspective. How does this decision that I am making right now affect me? So it doesn't matter if the man is a stay-at-home dad. It could be the man that is stay-at-home dad. It could be the woman that is stay-at-home mom. Whatever happens, the home must be running and running fine. That's the goal. The goal is for the home to run effectively. So if that, I remember when I was growing up, there was a time my mom worked in the bank for like 16 years. In those 16 years, I think I saw my dad more than I ever saw my mom in those 16 years. So he was literally doing everything, the cooking, bathing, because she had to leave early, come back late, and all that. When the table switched and she left the bank, she was now, working at a less demanding job. The table switched even at the home front. So I think it's just that understanding that everybody needs to have. Okay, so I think we have done justice to that, and I want to believe that there's no other question. Thank you. Thank you. We have answered a question. If you have other questions, because we don't want to keep you here, even though we started late, because some of you joining late, but I wouldn't want to hold that against you. If you have more questions, the WhatsApp group is there. So please feel free to drop your questions in the WhatsApp group. If you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, please join the WhatsApp group. It's for your own good. Trust me, this is not another WhatsApp group that will just keep you there for no reason. Once we are done with the purpose of the WhatsApp group, it will be out of your face. But for now, please, I want to implore you to join the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much for joining in. God bless you. So, Omotola, I think I'll hand over to you at this point, because you're smiling like you have something to say.
No, I'm smiling because it's almost 9. I'm making sure that we maintain integrity with time. But anyways,
Sure.
it's been a good time. I've had fun learning, um taking notes from Marina, taking notes from Fidelia, and I'm just thinking about it as it applies to me, and I hope you're doing the same thing as well. Thinking about it as it applies to you, thinking about the things that have been said as it has restricted you, and making a decision to come out of those restrictions as much as you can. So yes, that's it for today. Again, pay attention to the commitments that we made earlier, or that you're supposed to make. So if you took a picture of the commitment page, it's a good thing to go over it later tonight. But this is where we call it an evening. Tomorrow, I'm going to be walking you through some sort of healing session, and I would not let the rest of it out of the bag. But come in early so we're able to finish on time and have a restful night. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining.
everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Nice and
you. Thank
early.
you. Goodbye.
Please don't miss to